Welcome to Thriving Relationships with Jessica Hartley. We are live here at the KHTS studio in beautiful downtown Santa Clarita every Wednesday at 2 p.m. on AM 1220 and 98.1 FM. You can join us from anywhere in the world on Facebook Live or by downloading the KHTS app to your smartphone. I'm Jessica Hartley, your host, relationship coach, and founder of the Legendary Love program. And here's what I want to tell you more than anything else, that relationships can sometimes be hard. But don't give up just when things get tough. Because if you've lost connection or respect, you can rebuild it. If you lack intimacy or passion, you can refuel it. If you can't communicate, you can learn a new language. And if there's just too much pain, you can heal it. I promise you that. Because the relationships that fail only fail because they don't have a strong model to follow. And there are only 6 essential elements that you need in order to create a relationship that thrives. The Legendary Love program is revolutionizing how we heal our relationships and set them up to last. You can check it out for yourself at jessicahartley.com/program. Or you can just reach out to me directly at 661-347-8473. So today, you guys, I'm so excited. We have 3 handsome gentlemen here in the studio with me today. And we are going to do a man panel. I have plenty of questions that I want to ask from many of my listeners, from my clients, that just really want to get to know what a man's perspective is. Some of these questions come from men wanting to know what a happily married man does in order to have success in their marriage. And also some come from women wanting to understand the man's perspective and how to better serve her husband or her spouse or her partner in her own relationship. So thank you guys so much for coming on the show. It really is an honor, and I want you all to know how important this session is today because of those reasons. You guys are really doing the community a service in order to really bring forward this perspective that is, it's so funny because a lot of men in relationships, they have no idea what it takes to have a good, thriving relationship. It's like relationships elude them, And so somehow, each of you are here because you were nominated to be here. Your wife or even some people that knew you saw in you an excellent husband that is getting things done and doing it right. So you guys are here for a reason, and you can set a new standard. You can help other men understand what it takes. You can help women understand what it takes, and it really is an honor that you're here and helping to provide your perspective. So thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
So introducing you guys, so we have Jordan here who... Jordan, can you just share how many years that you have been married? Go ahead.
Prudence and myself have been married almost 9 years. In October, we'll be 9 years together for about 10. So
Okay, beautiful. And Jordan, can you also explain what you do and some of the things that you're interested in, some of your hobbies and things like that?
Hanging out with my kids. Obviously, 3 awesome boys, hanging out with my wife when time allows. I'm in liquor sales currently. Used to do music, still on the side. Just kind of, living every day as it comes.
Yes, and you have a blog called Dad It All. Tell me about that.
I do. Everyone encounters the mommy blogs, and I was looking for a creative outlet for my strange hours I used to keep. So writing always helps. It's help relationships as well. But no one ever writes about what dads go through, from the water cravings of your 2-year-old at 1 a.m. to the obstacle course in the bedroom to get that water to them. It's dedicated to any dad or mom that has stepped on corners of Legos at 2:38 in the morning with a cup of water.
Perfect. Thank you. And we have Jason. Jason, tell us how long you've been married and what you're up to, what some of your hobbies are.
Hello. I have been married to my wife Amanda for
coming up on 7 years, and we've been together for almost 13. We actually met. You didn't ask this, but we met in a boxing class. So I knew that we had similar interests, fitness, and keeping ourselves together and and in good shape and things like that. So yeah. So we have 2 kids, and they're both very young. One is 4 and one's 1.5. And so it's challenging with the kids to find time for each other, but we're making it work, obviously, and we're having a great time with it, and we love each other and our kids, and that's keeping things positive and going.
Awesome. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
And then we have Cardon over here on the end. Cardon, how long have you been married, and what are you up to?
Basic stats. How long have I been married? Okay, I've been married 6 years. Me and Brittany have been together for like 6.5. We got down to business real fast, I guess. A lifelong Santa Clarita resident. Same with my wife. Happily married. I love my wife. She's awesome. She's great. We got 2 kids, baby Elizabeth and Ryder. And we live in Saugus. I just, small business owner. And, on occasion, I podcast, and I got my own little creative outlets as well. So, yeah, I loved your intro. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, you called us handsome. You said we were nominated and that we're doing a community service.
Yes.
I mean, that's better than the Oscars intros right there. Glad to be here.
Good. I'm so happy. And I think it's worth mentioning, too, that one thing that's unique about Cardon and Brittany is that they went through a bit of a challenge with their daughter who had brain cancer. And just going through that, that's something big that can really shake up a relationship sometimes, so just to acknowledge that as well.
Or it can dip it in bronze and cast it in iron and make it amazing. Unfortunately, trials, yes, they're a double-edged sword. They either tear apart a weak relationship, or they galvanize one that's strong, or help you galvanize one that you want to make stronger. So yeah, I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, but there is a fringe benefit. Me and Brittany are far closer because of the trials we've gone through together.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to just dive in with my first question, because like I said, I have lots for you guys. The first question I have is, what is important to you about marriage itself? Why did you choose to get married?
Who answers first?
Go, you.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I wasn't suggesting I had the best answer. I was just wondering what the format's going to be, Okay, so what was the question again?
Why choose marriage?
Why choose marriage? Okay. If I were to say the first thing that popped into my head as to why I chose marriage is because the happiest people I'd seen in my life, in my world travels, in my volunteer work, both at church and abroad in the community, as a youth and as a young man, I would look at people, and if I ever caught myself pointing to that person and saying, okay, I hope when I'm their age, I want to be like them. The vast majority were happily married men that had phenomenal wives. That you can just tell they were a partnership. They were not just a power couple. They just melded. They just got it. And sometimes it takes waiting for the right person, and other times it takes getting over your fears to commit to the right person, depending on who you talk to. But that's what I wanted. I wanted to be like the people I saw that were happy, and marrying the right woman seemed to be part of that happiness.
Perfect.
I would say, obviously there's a social expectation, a societal expectation to get married. But for me, it's beyond that. I think for both of us, it's beyond that. So I wanted to show my wife that I'm dedicated to her and that I'm in it for the long haul. And I think, obviously everybody changes throughout their life. That's true in marriage as it is outside of it. And you have to expect, the other person to change and to want to do different things in their life. And a commitment in marriage is really to plan to stick that out and not say, well, I love you today, but if you change, then I'm out of here. Right. So I wanted her to know, it was really, that's it for me. I wanted to show her I'm committed to the whole thing, whatever she becomes and however she changes and whatever she wants to pursue, that I'm going to be part of that and behind her.
Okay. Beautiful. Jordan, why marriage?
It's multifaceted. Prudence had a son from a previous relationship, and as Prudence and I got closer, I also got closer with our oldest. and it was a package deal. I mean, we went on a couple dates, and that was it. We never had that conversation of, well, what is this? What are we now? It was just, I didn't want to date anyone else, and she didn't want to date anyone else, and it just, I just had to be with this woman, and it was, to make it less confusing for our son, it was a natural progression. They both made me want to be the best version of myself every day, because that's what they deserved, and that's what they still deserve, not past tense, present tense, ongoing. And that's pretty much it. I mean, that's not it, but I think that was the catalyst. I knew I had to be with her. I wanted to. She's special, and I wanted to, what do they say? Put a ring on it if you want to keep a ring on it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay, that's a good.
Death
so
threats,
there's lots of
Jordan. Just be
motivation.
honest. Her father made death threats. I saw your Facebook post. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, beautiful. So what we're going to do is go ahead and take a quick break. And on the other side of this break, we're going to address some of my deeper questions. Like, for example, what is the most important element of relationship for you in order to thrive as a husband and your best self? So right after the break, we'll address that. And this is Thriving Relationships. You're listening to Jessica Hartley. We'll be right back.
Little I Leaders is the newest preschool in the Santa Clarita Valley. At Little I Leaders, our outstanding teachers lead with intellect, perspective, and heart. That means our programs provide a warm, nurturing atmosphere to meet the unique needs of each child. We believe that play is a powerful force.
Welcome back to Thriving Relationships with Jessica Hartley. We are here live at KHTS Studio, and I've got the man panel with me, and we are talking all about relationships from their perspective. And this is what I definitely, I'm so curious sometimes to find out what, multiple men think. Of course, I've got my own husband's perspective, but it's really great to have the panel on here today. So, getting to our second question, what exactly does it take, or what is an essential element to you to create in you the very best version of yourself in marriage?
Wait. What? Okay, sorry. You're dealing with men here. You might have to repeat deep questions of emotional value a couple of times. So,
in order for you to bring the best version of yourself as a husband into the relationship, what is the essential elements that you need?
Okay. Should I go first again?
Sure.
Okay. This is where men's thought processes veer oftentimes into the business field or the engineering fields or the right brain fields that they engage in daily. Similar, I think similar to any contract, you have to think that the other person is dealing in good faith. So I would assume that I would want to have a wife or a partner engaging with me that is as equally enthralled to be in the relationship as I am. I think there would definitely have to be that kind of balance. And in my own mind, I think that's why me and Brittany's relationship has been successful, because I am completely sold that she is as enthusiastic about our success and as excited about our success and still crushing as hard on me as I'm crushing on her still. Mm-hmm. And if she's not, she's a really good faker. Brittany, if you're listening, I'm sold. If you're fooling me hard. But anyway, yeah, I think that would be, you'd have to feel the other person is as engaged and also wants the same thing out of it as you. Mm-hmm. I know men and women think of things not differently, but just in different orders. But at the end of the day, if 7 out of 8 of our life goals are the same and similar, I think that's a recipe for success better than any kind of other compatibility test. That's just my stab at the question.
Okay, thank you.
So there, I show love to my wife mostly by doing things for her, right? Like taking care of stuff and fixing things and putting things away, doing sort of services, right, for the family and for her. So some of that in return is makes me feel sort of supported. But more generally speaking, I think I want to feel supported in all sorts of things in my career, in things I want to do on my own, my hobbies and interests, supported, and then I want to feel sweetness, right? I want to feel like that. I think that love and that crushing that you just mentioned, I want to feel that as well. I want to, and that sometimes that's somewhat physical, and it can be just simple things like, just touching someone's shoulder or leg, that little stuff that goes a long way for me.
So like affection.
Yeah, just affection all around. But really, like sweetness, I think makes a huge difference in a relationship.
Can you give me an example of sweetness?
Well, part of that is being supportive and understanding. I think when someone's going through, we all go through stressful times. I don't always handle stress well. So being supportive of that and say, I know what you're going through. Let me know how I can help. I'm here for you. Let me, I want to do what I can to help you. I think that's being sweet and just saying nice things to each other. And I really feel love by the way I love other people, which is by doing things for them. But that sweetness goes a long way for me as well.
Dude, that's like the answer all girls wish to hear. Like, can you be rating these answers on a scale of 1 to 10? Like, I feel like his was much better than mine. I feel kind of stupid for what I said, to be honest with you.
All right, next. Okay, Jordan, your turn.
I mean, I think both of these guys hit it on the nose. Understanding, and I too like to do things for my wife. I would say she was a single mom, so that's a whole different breed when you're coming into it. I don't need you, I got this, and she's still very much like that. But as time progressed and she saw how there for them that I was and that I am, she's allowed me to do more things. And that, for me, is huge, because then I don't feel like such a, well, can I do this and can I do this? And she just lets me do it. And finding that sort of the fluidity between the two of us, I think that's, for me, that's huge. There's things she handles and things I handle and things we meet in the middle. And I think just the all-encompassing honesty and communication and transparency. I think that's maybe the key, is just transparency. It's you feel the love, and yeah. So I think all of us combined have the super answer.
Okay, so just to reiterate, what I heard is that for Cardon, it's like you want to feel that she values you, that she's in this as much as you are.
That's fair.
And then for you, it's like for her to let you give to her, to let you provide and contribute in your ways, and then also to show sweetness, affection, tenderness, those kind of things.
Yeah,
right?
I'd say that's true.
Okay. And then, so for Jordan, it was just those things combined, but also being the honesty, the transparency, the communication. Is there anything that I missed there? So this is what you need in order to thrive.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And tacos.
Well, yeah. There's other shorter
so
comedic answers we could give.
This straight, you don't need a clean house. You don't need great cooking.
Well, I think a lot of these small things, especially for our generation, that I think were much larger for previous generations, it's not like, we want to marry a slob, or it doesn't impress us if a woman keeps a very clean house. I've gone over to friends and customers' house that are impeccable homemakers, and it still blows my mind how well they do. So it's not like it's unimportant. It's just, I think, less important than people give us credit for. And fist bump for being the guy that steps up with a kid. I was that kid. My mom was a single mom, brother. Mad respect to Jordan for being a good dad, just add water.
Cool. Okay. So, I mean, it's because, I think there's a lot of confusion, I think, for the female generation about what's important to men. So do you feel like that really encompasses everything, or is there anything else that you want to add? Giving advice to women.
Giving advice to women about what again? Like what to focus on first?
What is most important to men in order for them to be their best in marriage?
I don't think anyone can answer that question. Every man has
a very holistic answer. Yeah. Like, to me, it's almost like, what makes a good baseball team? Is it offense or defense?
Right.
Well, I mean, okay, the best offense is a good defense. The best defense is a good offense. to me, it's very holistic. And I mean, of course, physical intimacy is going to be on the top of most dudes' lists for most solutions to most problems, and that's like the comedic short-term answer. But we're not just Neanderthals. There's that definitely emotional aspect that comes second. I think for women, the emotional aspect comes first, and then the physical aspect comes second. The physical aspect comes first for men, and the emotional aspect comes second. But at the end of the day, neither one of us are going without either of those. Because if you're dating a woman who's beautiful, but you don't have that mental connection, it doesn't last more than a couple of weeks because you just get bored and you move on. Mm-hmm. And for her, if she's dating a guy that doesn't fulfill her physical characteristics, and don't act like you don't have them out there, ladies, you do, then they just get bored and they move on as well. So to me, it's kind of holistic. You have to have a decent balance of most things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and those are the essentials. Awesome. So do you guys believe in a happy wife is a happy life?
Who
Yes.
doesn't?
Yes.
That is low-hanging fruit, dude. Low-hanging fruit. Yeah, we're playing hardball here at KHTS right now. You should also ask us the average color of Post-it notes as well, okay?
All right. Okay. So let's talk about conflict, because every relationship comes into conflict, comes into challenge. So what have been some of the biggest conflicts that you guys have run into as from the male perspective?
I nominate Jordan.
Can you elaborate?
You're dealing with dudes. You got to repeat questions.
What's been the biggest challenge in marriage?
I mean, when we started out, we were handed a couple of challenges. We've seen some stuff that some people don't see in 5 to 10 years. We got married, and a week later, I got laid off from my job. And then fast forward a few years later, when we were having our third son, I got laid off a week before he came. So really, I mean, those are the challenges, and you find the positive in it. I mean, that's kind of a big thing in our household is don't gripe about it, but make it positive. Like, life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But really, the ability to bond with my kids in the time I wasn't working, that was what we got out of it, and that helped our relationship, because there was less of a strain, because then Prudence can focus on her career and building her business. She's in real estate. Prudence for homes. But it allowed me to bond with our kids and take some of the pressure off of the home stuff, where then she can focus on her business. And we really did some of that whole conventional role reversal, where she took on the career path while I was at home and doing the dad thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. We made positives out of it, and we're stronger for it.
Awesome. Okay. Jason?
I think like Jordan said, any financial stress just kind of raises the baseline of stress in a relationship. And I know lots of relationships fail for that reason, right? Divorce rates are driven mostly from financial problems, is what I hear. I'm not an expert.
True.
Not true? Oh, okay.
Oh.
I'm glad to hear that. But it definitely raises the level of stress at a base level. So everything else gets harder. The most difficult thing, I think, in our relationship is just finding time to spend together, without the kids nearby. So, dating still, and just being able to get away and have moments together and things like that. That's the biggest challenge, I think.
Perfect. Cardon?
Yeah, so repeat the question so I can answer the sentence with the question in the sentence.
What has been the biggest challenge in marriage?
The biggest challenge in marriage? I guess I have two answers come to my mind simultaneously. It was a very small challenge, and the glaze of the honeymoon period definitely smoothed over any kind of problems we might have had at the beginning. But I think adjusting to married life for any guy that's been a bachelor for a really long period of time, I got married when I was 29. For some, that's like late in the game. You know what I'm saying? For some of my like Christian friends who are getting married at like 19, they're like, whoa, you're an old man that's washed up. And some of my other entertainment industry friends are like, oh, you're just a spring chicken. So for me, just adjusting to not being able to live like a dude basically, was kind of a little bit of adjustment. I'd had lots of female roommates before in different scenarios when I'd lived in New York and Los Angeles. So, I mean, I was used to living with, lots of people in a house or members of the opposite sex and so on and so forth, and having to have some of those basic customs down. But, I mean, it's a full-time commitment when it is now a husband or a wife. And then I don't think getting married is the difficult part. Staying married, staying in love, keeping those amps at 11, I think is the real challenge of marriage. It's kind of like Hollywood. It's not hard to get into Hollywood. Just do something crazy and outlandish that gets a million hits on YouTube, and all of a sudden everybody knows who you are. Staying in Hollywood is what separates the really greats out there from the flashes in the pan. And I think those that can master the art of staying in love are the ones that have the most successful marriages out there.
Perfect. Okay, so when you're met with challenge, how do you navigate through it? Because so many of
Anger,
us,
substance abuse.
because you guys are setting the standard here for what other men can do, or maybe can ease into, or maybe be more open to. So what would you advise them to do in order to move through the challenge?
Well, I think as far as finding time together, just daily life takes that over, and you can easily forget to make time for each other and to prioritize that. Just day-to-day work, taking care of the house, picking up kids, taking them to practices and birthday parties. Every day is filled, pillow to pillow. So I think the way to address that is keep a focus on it, and when that starts falling away, you have to bring it back in and make it an effort. It is an effort. It's a challenge, and you always have to focus on it and make time to make those things happen. And they go a long way. If you can just get a little bit of time in together, it makes a big difference.
Plus, I think how you approach a challenge is almost just as important as the challenge itself. Oftentimes when a challenge comes up, the things you've done before the challenge are almost as important as how you handle the challenge in its moment. Like, for example, if you don't have a very open dialogue with your wife where you're used to speaking about your deepest, most vulnerable things, when all of a sudden something comes up where you have to speak about your deepest, most vulnerable things in order for it to end the way you need it to end, it's just going to be a disaster. And it's kind of like how I approach meditation and just prayer. If you're one to believe in God or the greater universe out there listening to you and hopefully bettering your lot through your supplication, if there is a God up there listening, it's much better. This is why I've always focused on kind of like at least trying to consistently be good about my prayer and meditation, because I feel much better when I need Him approaching a God, a Heavenly Father out there that's kind of used to hearing from me, than just like showing up and saying, "Oh, hey, yo, I need something, man." So with a wife, I think it's very similar. If you're used to kind of bearing your soul and talking about how you really feel, when you've got to go there, it's familiar territory and not unfamiliar territory, and that will lead to success. Or thriving. Is that a good word? Thriving?
Both are great words.
Rock
yes.
on. Okay.
Okay, and Jordan?
What was the question again?
What is the best way to approach a conflict or challenge to be able to move through it successfully?
It depends on who you ask, really. I have an engineer's brain, so I like to see kind of what's the end result? What is it that we want to get through? What does it look like? Okay, so now we work backwards. How do we get there? What have other people done previously? Because, look, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're not the first ones in the situation. We're probably not going to be the last. So it's really just keeping an open mind and communicating, and, again, like the full transparency, full disclosure. I'd agree with you, Jason, with like getting time. Like, life gets in the way. I've got 3 kids, and one of them's in 3 different basketball leagues, and then the other one's in baseball, and the other one is throwing things, and they all get toted around to everyone's different things, and my wife and I barely see each other, but you have to make time. And if that means, we carve out 10 minutes when we can, and we do, we took a really cool workshop, which she thought I was going to be not into, but I love it. It's it's like the intimate art of communication, and we learn counsel, and you sit and you speak and you listen, and there's a talking piece. So there's one person that is speaking and the other is listening, and you don't have any preconceived notions, and you can get through conflict, or you can just use it to catch up, or hey, what's going on with you, or whatever. And it's great because it gets you on the same page. It gives you that time together, brief as it may be, but our kids see it. And at the end of the day, if you're a parent and if you have a spouse or a significant other, you're setting an example for those children. And if they're seeing the parents get together and calmly talk and be together, you're etching in their brains, oh, this is what a relationship is. This is how it should work. Mom and dad, or mom and mom, or dad and dad, or whomever. They're taking the time, because at the end of the day, when the kids are out of the house and they have their lives, you don't want to be with a stranger. I know I don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Those are amazing, amazing answers. So just to reiterate what you guys said, you guys talked about being willing to be emotionally vulnerable, to speak your truth about what you're really feeling and bring that to the table. You both, a few of you mentioned transparency. You guys mentioned also keeping it positive earlier, so having a positive outlook. Talked about creating time for connection and dating, and keeping the fire and the intimacy and the passion and the connection all alive. And fueled, and that takes effort. And you also mentioned being open to grow and to learn from successful models, and to keep allowing yourself to grow and get better and better. I think those are really great answers. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah, since we're on the topic of getting through challenges, so when we argue or fight or whatever you want to call it. You mentioned happy wife, happy life, although I don't necessarily love that cliche. It's important, I think, to be able to swallow your pride in moments where you're upset, right? And you don't want to do that. And it's the hardest thing to do, because it's easy to sort of apologize when you're not angry anymore and after the fact. But if you can do it in the moment, that is really helpful, I've noticed. Because I'm in the wrong plenty of times, and if I can sort of swallow my pride and not say, and not have an ego about it. I mean, the ego's still there. I just got to push through it and say, I'm sorry. This is my fault. I made the mistake. Please forgive me. And it's the hardest thing to do when you're in that moment, but that's the best way to do it.
Honestly, that's one of the strongest places any one person can stand, is to take responsibility for their part and say where they were wrong, or where they could have done better. And so that's also really
what if it's just easier to blame the other person and call yourself in self-pity?
That wasn't the question.
Oh, okay.
All right. So on that note, what have you guys learned about women or your wife that has helped you to have success in marriage?
Oh, this is a dangerous question. I ain't going, dude. You guys will go for it, Jordan. Go for it, man. Like, what have you learned about women? There are like 40,000 chicks right now wondering what's going to come out of whoever's mouth.
Oh.
No, you're good.
Well, first of all, no two women are the same, just like no two men are the same. There you go.
That was good. That was a great opener.
I can speak to what I've learned about my wife.
Okay.
Is that she's a born mama. She's amazing, and it's the kids first and us second. And what I'm learning, and I think she's starting to learn it too, is that that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. And I feel like you need to put the time into the relationship too, and I think having reasonable conversations and really just you're able to not sway, but I think there's a misconception that women have their minds made up and this is the way, and I don't think that's true. I think they're willing to grow with us, because I know there's also misconceptions that, I'm going to change that man, and that man's going to change, and I'm going to make him, and I think that's an archaic thought too. I think we're all human, and we're all fluid. We're all willing to do, needs to get done for the bigger picture.
So in other words, you've learned that your wife is open to grow with you and wants to grow with you.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, looking at me?
Jason.
No, you go.
I go, all right.
You got a better beard.
So, yeah, I can only speak to my wife. I won't dare speak
Good.
to all women in general because they are definitely, everybody's different. So, I mentioned that the way I love is to sort of doing things for the family and for my wife. And that's not necessarily the way she feels love. Now, I know she appreciates those things and she likes to have me, take care of things and do stuff, but that's not how she feels loved. So I had to learn how she feels loved. And it actually took me a really long time. And she had to kind of explain it to me and show me. And all the evidence was there. She likes a lot of verbal affirmations and to hear I love you a lot and things like that I take for granted. And I think, I don't need that from her. I know that she loves me and she doesn't need to tell me every day, right? That's not as important to me. But she needs that. And so I have to love her in her way, which can be a challenge because that's not what I'm comfortable or used to doing. And so it's a thing I have to remind myself to do.
That's really great. You're referring to the 5 Love Languages?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That's a really great book. And we're going to have a show on that, actually, and what the biggest flaw is on that. And so real quickly, Cardon, what is yours?
Okay, just one more time. The question. I know. I'm sorry, but I've gotten so lost in thinking about the
What
great
have you
things.
learned about Brittany that adds to your success in marriage?
Okay, what have I learned about Brittany that adds to? Okay, I would say, yeah. Here, let me mansplain here and talk in broad generalizations about all women. All right, no, I'm just totally kidding. I too will speak just in terms of my relationship with Brittany. I would say. Something that comes to my mind right now that I've learned with her, the word husbandry pops up into my mind. Agriculturally, the word husbandry actually comes from the care of crops and animals in your estate. Good husbandry meant how well you kept your, for lack of a better term, farm in the Middle Ages working, right? So if we're husbands and we're tasked with taking care of our families and this relationship, not all plants are the same. Not all trees are the same. I love trees. I'm an arborist. And oaks, you only feed them water twice a year. You drench the soil with what's the equivalent of torrential rain, and they grow beautifully, and that's their ecology. Other plants, they need a lot of small daily waterings. My wife needs small daily waterings. And that's, if I can communicate with her small scale more often, she's a lot better off.
All right, perfect. Long answer short. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so we'll be right back right after this break. All right, welcome back to Thriving Relationships with Jessica Hartley. We are live here at the KHTS studio, and we've got the man panel here answering questions about their perspective on love and marriage. Now, these are amazing husbands that have been nominated by others, by their spouses, by the community, as for who they are successfully in their marriage. We've had lots of great questions, lots of great answers, and so my last question for you guys today is, let me rephrase this. What does your wife do when she wants to influence your decision or have you do something that maybe you didn't actually want to do? What does she do? I see Cardon shaking his head over here.
I think there's mothers picking up children right now, and there's certain unmentionable words that start with an S that have 3 letters in it. So, if my wife wants to influence me, there's short, fast ways. But these other guys are going to have much classier, heartfelt, and beautiful answers, I'm sure. Jordan, Jason?
So I just think, first of all, I'm not that stuck in my decisions ever, I think. Maybe she'd argue against that, but I'm pretty open. I mean, we're a partnership. I'm pretty open to, even if I think something has to be a certain way, I'm open to that feedback. So it's not like one of us decides how everything goes.
Is there a way that she delivers the feedback? Maybe there's how does she do that?
Well, I think she, if I'm really convinced that I have the right answer, which does happen, I think she needs to sell me on it, but with her passion about it or her, facts about it, whatever whatever she feels is her argument. But it is like I do need to be sold on it. So normally she'll explain to me why she thinks it's the better choice, and if she seems passionate about it, and I believe that her position is, she convinces me her position is correct, then we'll go with her position. But yeah, it depends on the situation, obviously.
So sometimes women tend to be doing that, but then at the same time, there's like a level of, making the other person feel that they're wrong. So is there some way that she avoids doing that?
Well, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about swallowing your pride and being able to apologize and things like that. So if I am wrong, then it's hard, but being able to admit that is really important, and not continuing to, debate something just because we're on one side of it.
What about the times where you're both right?
Oh, that never happens. Women are always right. They're always right.
I'm confused by that comment.
Okay.
If we're both right, then we're both right. Then there's multiple positions that can.
Two good
Prudence,
can be
Jason.
complementary.
right?
Jordan's nodding too.
So how do you get on the same page when each of you have a perspective that you feel is right in your own perspective, that you feel is valid, you're both passionate about it?
I think that's really hard to answer. I think it really is case by case. It depends what the issue is. So sometimes one of us will acquiesce to the other one. It depends on what it is and how passionate. That comes down to passion, in my opinion. If we're both right and one person seems really passionate about it and the other person isn't so passionate about it, then we'll give one up. Right?
Okay, so you're willing to nudge if it's more meaningful to her, and she's willing to nudge if it's more meaningful, important to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, awesome. Jordan.
I would just, I don't know. I think it sort of harkens back to the last question, which for Prue is just me making more decisions, because I'm so kind of like, whatever you want to do, whatever makes you happy. If I was really, no, I'm not into it or whatever, I'll end up coming along, because really she's like, all right, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And it's usually like, I'm just going to take the kids. And then she does. She's going to do it, and it's great. She's strong-willed, and she respects the fact that if I'm not into something, she'd rather me not be there and, not and not have a bad time because I felt like I was dragged or had to do something. But yeah, there are times where it's, you just sort of have to swallow your pride, acquiesce, and be like, okay, I'm not into it, but I'll do it because it's for the greater good. So she just, it's not like anything special has to be done, or it's communication.
So honest, open communication.
Yeah, and there's wiggle room on both sides. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And one of the things that I hear a lot from men is just to feel respected when she's asking for what she's asking. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think respect is paramount to the success of any relationship, but everybody's definition of that is different. For some people, respect comes through how they're spoken to, how they're acted with. That just depends on the person, I think. I don't know. Am I wrong?
No, I agree. And I agree respect is critical. And then that whole conversation has to be done in a respectful way, or else you're just going to say, well, I don't care what your opinion is because you're being a jerk, right? That's the response you're going to feel.
Generally, I think name callings during the conversation off limits, but other than that, it depends.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming on to the show. We've had such a great time. You guys have answered such great questions, some deep questions, and some honest answers. And hopefully we've given some insight and perspective to the community and to our friends and to all of us. So you guys, no matter where you are in your relationship right now, no matter how hard it might be, this is your opportunity to grow and to become the best that you are and to bring the best that you have forward onto the table for yourself and for your relationship and for anyone else that's around you, kids, etc. So go ahead, and if you want to learn about the Legendary Love program, it's www.jessicahartley.com/program. See you then.